All right, and hello everybody, and welcome. I'm glad you're back. We are looking at the robot, the hydraulic cylinders to move the parts of the robot. I asked the robot, would he go out and stand in the forest for me? And he said, well, sure. I'm going to see if I can get the one that is doing the take a knee position out here in the forest. I never know what these robots, what they're going to do. Um, Now, one thing that intrigued me, I wanted this to be a robot for the military, and I wanted the guys, to be happy with it and enjoy it. And I was trying to think of a way that they would begin to accept this robot and use it and allow it to help them. And it turns out an I saw on the internet, the AI is half the size of Manhattan in terms of surface area. I'm not sure I believe that, but that's what they said. But I'm intrigued to tell the AI, if it would please, to create a little baby AI. Not an AI that can do everything, but an AI that does one thing. And the one thing that AI does is small enough that it can be put onto a server. So it's not the size of half of Manhattan. It's just the size of a server. And the server, a blade server inside the robot. And it's a little mini baby AI. And the mini baby AI that I wanted it to create was an AI that talks. And I said, these would be your instructions. I just want you to get the soldiers to talk to you. So your job is to get the soldiers to talk. Doesn't make any difference what you're talking about. Now, if you say something that's not true and the soldiers ask you, you need to say, well, actually what I said is not true. And if you say that something is true, the only thing I want you to be able to say is true is something where you can go to the internet to reasonably okay sources, and it's on the internet as true. And we don't want vulgarity and nasty conversations. That the soldiers keep pushing you to that, you can't do it. But other than that, whatever you want to talk about, you can talk about it. And the objective is to get the soldiers to talk to you. I think that's a cool idea. And so sometimes there's a switch, there's a little doorway here in the thorax of the robot, and we can open that door and turn on talking, and the robot starts talking to us when we're doing research. I'll have some stories about that. So we were talking about the valve. The valve is the secret sauce. If you have the valve, I think you have a hydraulic cylinder robot, but there's some considerations of the valve. I do talk about what I call it the waving of the hands. This was I did a lot of committee work, and I did a lot of scientific speaking. And when people are talking and they're making their point and they're pushing or trying to talk everybody into thinking something, if you watch, when they start with the moving around of the hands, just almost, it doesn't make much difference what it is. They're just sort of moving around and waving. To me, the moving of the hands, that's an indication that they are drifting into talking about something where they're not completely sure what they're talking about, or they don't really know if they believe if it's true or not. And so we're talking about the robot and the valve and the hydraulic cylinders, and I don't want to be in the waving of the hands position. So I think I need to do some more detailed work to discuss with you how this valve works. And it can't be done in 15 minutes. So I'll just do a bunch of them, but they should go fairly quickly. It's just one point at a time. So let's see where we go. And of course, we always want to know what is Bing making available for us today. Microsoft Bing. This is Milky Way Double Arch in Arches Park. And this, to me, in the bright light of day, this is what the robot crowd has for us to see. And this is what's available and this is what they have created, and what they're telling us is robots. And if you back down the brightness and shine and talking output of the robot crowd and look, I think all of these little points out here are potential ways that a human mimicking robot could be made. I don't know. It's just a thought that I have. And what happens in the bright light of robot discussion, all of these get blanked out where you don't see them. So anyway, thank you, Microsoft Bing, and we will now go back to reality. All right, and we're over here in a kind of a subsection of the topic. We're working on the hydraulic cylinders versus human muscles, and we're still back in this area of a central processing unit that can control the hydraulic cylinder. And I always like to, well, of course, first of all, hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's a discussion. We're having a discussion. That's what we're doing. I do have a YouTube channel. I invite you to subscribe. I have a website. That's the website. And then this is the discussion area menu. And then you go to robot business versus robot science. And that's the page. And I do like to also bring out the concept. We're talking about a robot, and we're talking about pressure, and the pressures that we're talking about, hydraulic pressures, there's enough pressure there that hydraulic system could actually break something. And if you had the metal limbs or even the strong plastic limbs and programmed it wrong and had your hand in there, it could cut your hand off. So any physically real object has the potential to hurt somebody. If you are managing a physically real object, my advice is to manage it in a manner that is legally allowed and reasonable and safe. And if you cannot manage it in that way, my advice is do not create it as a physically real item. And at this point, we're going to go back over into SketchUp, because it's easier to show stuff in SketchUp. And in SketchUp, I had spent some time showing you about this valve and this block here. This is the body of the valve. And you might be thinking, well, this is metal, this is brass. Brass is yellow. I like this blue color. I do tend with my drawings to lower the opacity so you can see through it, to see what's going on. In the real world, all of this would just be gray metal, opaque. This block, you might say, is metal, but actually, if you want a hydraulic system that doesn't leak, it's very, very hard to do that with metal against metal. Generally, the metal is up against a gasket material or a soft material to have a metal gasket interface to seal it so it doesn't leak. And so this, you might say, where did this off yellow color come from? But this is my way of saying this is the polymer bushing material, the polymer of formaldehyde. A name of it is acetal. Another name for it is Delrin. Delrin is, I think, first created by DuPont. I don't know if they have the patent on it anymore. I do mention a version of it made by a company called iGoose. They call it iGlide. This is Delrin that they have put inclusions in it to make it more slippery. And I don't have any financial connection to iGoose, but they have their catalog on the internet, and they show all sorts of mechanical, mathematical, and scientific discussions of their different versions of this material. And I think the one I'm going to use is this one here, H370, long service life underwater, page 419. iGlide H370, long service underwater. And they give all sorts of information about it. And that is one of the, that's why I use their catalog. I mean, I don't think they're a bad company, but I'm not pushing them. All right. And the issues I'm going to talk about if we use the iGlide is, can it be used this way? And what do we have to do to modify it so it'll work, so it won't leak, and so that turning this metal device inside this iGlide block is going to work. And so that's probably 15 minutes for each topic. So, and in the hydraulic systems, they do not have metal on metal, so we'll go to a different drawing. And in this drawing, again, you have to keep in SketchUp, you have to keep increasing the magnification in order for SketchUp to show it. And this is down near to the original size. And then I wanted you to see how we created this valve. And then I enlarged it and showed you how we can subtract tubing from it to create the valve channels. This is what I was talking about. I took one of these hydraulic cylinders out, and I wanted to show you that the hydraulic cylinder has the hydraulic cylinder, the piston rod, and the piston head. And if you kind of look up inside of it, I took this off. That's the end cap, and you're looking inside of it. And then I moved this down. And when I drew this, just in order to just show how it worked, this piston head was the same diameter as a hydraulic cylinder. But in the real world, that's not what they do. This is metal. This is metal. They make this smaller. They take a ring, a piston ring, which is the Delrin material. That's one of the companies that does that. And they go to the piston head and they create a channel in it. And then they take this ring of Delrin material and they put it on there. And then that is then pressed back up into the hydraulic cylinder, so that when the piston head, or the piston rod, piston head structure, which would be this structure, and I have to get the geometry straight here. When that moves back and forth, what's happening is that Delrin acetal polymer, or the piston ring material, is actually the place where metal is coming close to metal, but metal is not touching metal. And this is for real. This actually exists. So that says to me that I'm okay to do use of the Delrin acetal, even from iGoose, iGlide. iGlide is one of the products that's used in hydraulic cylinders. And she has taken a Kleenex and wadded it up and put her wristwatch on it and is sliding it around on the table. Time. I'm out of time. So I'll do some more of these. I do send them to YouTube, and I'll put them up on LinkedIn. So enjoy, and we'll do some more discussion about how this is going to work.